it's probably good, not that this is a topic we're going down, but it's probably good for staff retention. I mean, it's not just a restaurant now.
Mhm.
You're creating something fun from the outside and involving other people, and
Yep.
it makes people want to stay. And welcome to Revolt Breakaway. I have Christy with us here today. And Christy, why don't you introduce yourself and probably can do a better job than I can of that.
So I'm Christy Christian. I've been in the restaurant hospitality industry for about 17 years now. Absolutely love it. My favorite part about it is just the fact that we're in an industry where we get to make an impact on other people. We get to be like a bright spot in their day, make their day. I'm super passionate about marketing, branding, the whole picture. I know a lot of times marketing is either you open a restaurant and you think, we don't need any marketing, we got this, which in that case, I say, well, you could have more. Or you open it and nobody comes and everybody turns to marketing, like, where is everybody? So it's kind of like a hate or love situation, or just like, we don't need you situation. But I absolutely love it. And I love showing operators how marketing is important and how it makes a difference. Everybody loves an experience, and marketing to me is all about creating that experience for
Yeah,
others.
no, definitely. And that's what we're gonna walk through and talk to you today is, so many restaurants and restaurant owners, individual restaurateurs, they're so, head down in their four walls and so worry about, which they should be, their product, but there's just so much when it comes to the marketing and
Mhm.
and what they can be doing that, you know, they just miss. They miss the mark on that. And, so yeah, so maybe start with a couple of things that you think, what are maybe two or three popular things that you notice that are real simple for restaurant owners that they most of them miss, but just isn't real hard to maybe add to their program or their restaurant or business.
Okay, Joe, that was a huge question. But I'll try to narrow it down to one thing. I think consistency, if I had to say it, would be the biggest thing. And when I say consistency, it would be like you might have like an amazing dish and you think this is fantastic, and you take a picture with your iPhone and plop it up on your website, or you plop it up on socials, and then it looks 10 times different somewhere else, or you just that consistency throughout. So you have professional pictures are always, to me, a must, and with that, you consistently put that everywhere. So you have your website, people, especially in the restaurant industry, people are eating with their eyes. They like to see what the food looks like. They don't like to see it completely false. They wanna know that what they're getting is what that looks like. That's not to say that it doesn't have to be on the same exact dish, but the food itself, like, when it's like, back in the day, I would say 10 years ago, it was like, "Oh, let's use mashed potatoes to pump up this," and and sandwiches and stuff. I don't like doing that. I like real food, and then you put it on your website, you put it across your socials. Everywhere they go, they're getting a consistent feel for who your brand is. So actually stepping back a sentence, it would be creating your brand and then keeping that consistently throughout.
What would you say, I'd say an excuse that people say is, a professional photo shoot is, it's too expensive. What would you say to those restaurateurs that maybe give you that
The ROI on that is crazy. So when I there was a brand I took on, I still have them, absolutely love this brand. But when I first looked at it, I was like, "Ooh, this kind of looks like a mess." And it wasn't a mess, but it was kind of like mom and pop put these pictures up on a website. Everything was kind of all over the place. You didn't get an understanding for what the food really was. They had catering, they had banquets, they have events, but everything seemed separate. The menus were kinda confusing as well, there was so much on it. So I had a lot of fun. The first step for me is always a photographer getting stylized shoots, not like, "Oh, toast is coming out and taking pictures," and, "Oh, I have these toast pictures, I can use that." No, those are so different. Toast pictures are just an image, or, Grubhub, all of those, when they have those free photographers come out. That is one thing. What I like is like a stylized shoot, images that really look attractive that you can use as your hero shots. You can use them when somebody first goes to your website to really give you a feel for what the food looks like and is going to taste like and makes you hungry, and then creating that atmosphere and that experience around that. So that really is a huge thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I definitely get that too, I mean, like what you said, the ROI return. Yeah, I mean, it's, you gotta make money, you gotta spend money to make money, so if
Mhm,
you were taking
mhm.
a photo with your iPhone and it's not the most appeasing picture, that's gonna turn people off. It saves you a couple $100 in the beginning, but over years and years of having those pictures, a positive, like you said, with somebody professional that's gonna edit it correctly and look appetizing, you're gonna get your money way, you're gonna get much more money back in the long.
Yeah, and the don't get me wrong, the iPhone photos are fantastic for your Reels, for your Instagram, for doing YouTube Shorts, for different things like that, they have a place. But if it's just like if you were going to put out, um, I don't know what a good example would be, but I was gonna say, like, flowers out for the holidays in front of your house, and then you just left them there, that wouldn't be, like, that's a bad example. But it's if you're creating something just super quick with your phone, that's not something that you would like if somebody was walking up to you and said, "Oh, what kind of food do you have?" Is that the first image you wanna show them? I mean, probably not. You might have gotten one great picture, but to have just, like, your whole menu and to be able to swipe and show what it is, it's just different. So it's just like creating an art piece, and I mean, speaking of which, so it doesn't go beyond food. So I'm sitting here within Dink and Dine, which is one of my brands. So there's 5 different restaurant concepts within Dink and Dine. It's a entertainment kind of concept venue, and we had just stark walls. Here, I'm going to show you the walls. So there's just these walls, right, and the pickleball courts. Well, we wanted something to create some atmosphere, so I created that image. Can you see that? That the huge wall where it says Dink and Dine. So I created that image to kind of convey that you not only dink is a terminology used in pickleball to dink, but you also dime. So we put a cocktail glass next to a big, huge pickleball paddle. And what did that do? It brought atmosphere, and people walk in. There's another mural I've done down there. People walk in and they're just like, oh my gosh, this place is so beautiful. Well, it wouldn't be beautiful with just the brick walls. You have to put your own personality, your own touch into it. And that's what I love doing. I love looking at a brand and seeing, okay, this is amazing about you, but let's make it really be an experience for people. And it doesn't have to be an entertainment place to be an experience. I have another client that I just with they do amazing sales, and there really wasn't a lot to fix on the food. They have tons of people, but when I walked up, there was, like, trash in the trash can, there's weeds on the left side. It's like you have to think about the entire customer journey, and it starts with when they park their car in the parking lot and they're walking up. So that a complete journey walking through your restaurant feeling like that you took care on every single part of it. And a lot of times, like, a common thing, for restaurants that I'll see is you walk in and, like, behind the cash register is, like, binders and all the things that should be behind the scenes. And I try to tell them, it would be as if I came to your house and you opened the door, and right behind you greeting me for the party is your Clorox bottle and your rags and things. And that's a common thing, you'll see that and your maybe your cookbooks or whatever. Like, I don't wanna see your trash, that doesn't make me feel good, or the things you did to clean to welcome me into your space. That doesn't make me think, "Oh, I'm in a clean restaurant." It makes me think, "Oh." So, just having the eyes to have the entire customer journey throughout, the taste, the smell, um, looking with their eyes, people are, uh it's a whole experience for them, whether they're physically or they're digitally going through. So, you have to have that same mindset for
Yeah,
all
and it's
things.
all about what the customer's perception, like you said, from the front door, from when you're dining, from when you're ordering. I remember, I don't know who it
Mhm.
was that, recommended that we do this, but, when your staffers go into the bathroom, yes, obviously they're more than likely washing their hands in the bathroom. But when they come out, have them wash their hands again, just so the customers kind of see that,
So somebody
yeah,
sees
it's
it.
just, again, it probably
Yeah.
isn't needed. I think most states it's required when you get back in your kitchen. You have to wash them again before you put the gloves on. But it's just nice for customers to see
Yeah.
and not just be questioning like, "Oh, staff is coming out of the bathroom, obviously everybody goes to the bathroom, but are they cleaning their hands and then they go back there? It's current.
Yeah, we don't know. The doors were
Exactly. Yeah.
shut. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
let's shift to maybe some logo stuff. So what do you see? mm, You know, I mean,
Mhm.
there's so many different ways to get logos done nowadays. I mean, with AI and with
Mm.
just again going back to cheap getting cheap stuff down, but having a meaningful brand, the logo is mainly the first thing that people see, and it's the first thing that restaurant owners
Mhm.
get created. So walk us through maybe some do's and don'ts, on that, maybe some examples of what you've seen on why that's perfect.
Okay. Definitely, I'm not a like, oh, don't use AI. I think AI is fantastic. Do I think it replaces humans? No. You can totally tell when something is AI done. But could you use AI for some inspiration? Absolutely. Could you say to AI, okay, well, I didn't have it when I did Dink and Dine, but like the same thing, like those color combinations, like finding the right color combinations, those are blurred to there. But that took me probably 3 weeks to come up with the correct color combinations, and this was a more challenging project because not only is it for I needed it to match, like, pickleball courts, and so pickleball courts are typically, like, green or blues, but I needed it to match food. Now, green and blue is not typically green might be because it would be, like, vegetables and things, but you would want more of the reds, the oranges, the yellows, so finding that combination, and this might sound like it's going all over the place, but it's not because you need your logo's colors to kind of match your brand. And if your brand is you kind of look at your food colors and then you pull off of that. So if your brand is Mediterranean, you're going to want to look at the Mediterranean side of it. And I did have a brand that was Mediterranean, and he likes to say that he was like the French side of it. So then I did a whole study on the French side and colors and things, and how do we reflect the Mediterranean Ocean within your colors, but also your food, and then the popping of colors that bring out your food. So I think just even down to the color scheme that you're using, it's super important, to give that feeling when somebody looks at your logo that they feel it matches your restaurant. An example I love because it was when Baja Fresh first came out, like, I don't know how many years ago that was, probably 20 years ago. I remember driving past the freeway in Camarillo, and there was this sign, Baja Fresh, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I like that logo, and that they must have good food." Because I liked the logo, I wanted to go try the place, and back then, they did. I don't know so much now once they got bought by Wendy's and all of that, but it was kind of a new kind of concept, and it was really good, and the first thing that attracted me to it was the logo, and I think that was kind of an aha moment for me, even though I knew how important logos were. At that moment, I realized they are so important because if people don't connect with your logo, they're already judging you. It's like driving by somebody's house. We're going to go back to the house scenario. And there's a bunch of weeds in front. And maybe it's like this ugly 70s brown and mustard or something, something that's just not hip and cool and in trendy times. You would already judge the house before you walked in. So it's the same. People are looking at your logo and they're either attracted to your brand first by your logo, and that's the first
Yeah,
thing.
and I'd even say the same thing
So,
as the name of the business. The name that you
oh,
create, you want a
absolutely.
story. You want
Yeah.
people to be asking, "What does that mean?
Yep.
What is?" And you have a story behind.
Mm. Yeah. I'm laughing, Joe, because on Sunday we were driving through Ojai, and so you go through Oakview. Have you ever been up there? So it's like an older town, off the roads. It's really nice. And they say it's like there's a thing that says home of Johnny Cash. Anyways, we're driving through, and it's the names of the places are Ojai Tire, Rick's Fence, Joe's this, and I'm just like, wow, nobody thinks about the name here. They thought long and hard about that, and I was laughing because the whole way up, that's all it was. So
Yeah. Well, and especially now with,
yeah.
searching, maybe not so much like,
Hmm.
those type places, but especially restaurants, when there's millions and millions of restaurants, somebody's searching a name, and you're just using a generic name, there's going to be thousands of
Yeah.
things that they have to filter to find your name. But when you have
Right.
something that's specific, and what are your thoughts on like slogans? Nowadays, you see a lot of places use slogans to help tell their story.
Yeah, I think it's fun. I definitely have some here. I have about 5 or 6 here at Dink and Dine, and my favorite one is "Every dink deserves a drink," because it's tying in pickleball and drinking. And I have it on the water fountains. We have 17 crafted cocktails, so I don't want people to think it just means, and I have that martini glass up there, but I also have it on the water stations because, it does, I'm not telling you what to drink. So, but I think slogans like that can be used across the board on different mediums and in different meanings as well. I think they're fun and I think people like them. Another one on the other side we have was be social, fuel life. And one of the things that was real fun for me was I was walking through here. We just opened like a month ago. And I was walking through and there was all these people with their pickleball paddles and leaning against things. And there's a table here that leans against the courts and they're eating on the courts. And I walked up and I was just like, oh my gosh, this mural I created, all the people that are being social and fueling life. It was like it came to life. And so that I think slogans are fun and if people remember things with slogans. So if you use them correctly, they can
Yeah,
be
and
effective.
and it sounds like the mural with the slogan that you created, people are posting that on social media, so it's free advertising
Oh,
getting out
yeah,
that
it
too.
is. Yep,
We have one
yep.
of our concepts, ours was Rev Cafe, and our slogan was Rev Up, Rev Down. And no one quite
Yeah,
knew what
yeah,
that
I
meant,
love that.
but it created so everybody asked, "What does that mean?" So I got to when people asked that, I
Yeah.
got to tell my story and what that meant. And, real quick, really all it meant was, we sold, local coffee. So you could come in the morning and rev up and kind of get your espresso or get your coffee. But at night, we kind of turned into a more upscale, like farm to table restaurant. So it was kind of like a rev up idea, and then you
Oh,
kind of
revving
rev
up.
down. So it's again
Yeah,
just creating each
yeah.
story.
Oh, I love that. Yep. I think a story is super important too. There's so many times like if it has been like a mom and pop that has done it, I'm like, well, where's your story? You have a story. People love stories. And I think it's really important to look at the Gen Zs and look at what they like and the trends that they're doing. And I think it's a mistake if you don't look at that at all because you're gonna age out in if you're just thinking about like, oh, I have my established customers, you're gonna age out. You have to be thinking on all angles of that. And Rev Up, Gen Zers would love. It's like Better Buzz
Right. Yeah.
Cafe, the same kind of thing. Those names are fun for them, but yeah.
Also, so maybe touch on, what are some ways that concepts or give some examples of maybe some of your concepts, how they can get more involved, like locally, like either local products or getting
Mm.
local, I mean, I can share some things that we did at some of our concepts, but what are you doing? Is that, so many concepts today are like, they're just copy and paste. What can they do to bring some more local
Yeah.
things in?
Well, and that's one of the things, like, with the Euster Centimeter, we put together, playbooks all the time. We just finished a catering playbook for one. We do marketing playbooks, and these playbooks have an entire section on how they can do things locally. So it, like, depends on your topic, but I know the one I just did, like, for, the catering one, the pages it was, I think, 8 to 10 pages of just ways to go and connect with the community. And it goes all the way from like the sports teams to the hospitals to the schools and, you name it. There are so many creative ways to connect your business to the community. So it depends on, first of all, your restaurant or, your concept, where you are. If you're a pizza place, well, you definitely should be approaching the sports teams and putting banners up in the schools and, or the sports fields and talking with the coaches and offering to do some bites or platters or fuel one of their after game events and things and offer to do the pizza parties and the ceremonies after for the award ceremonies, all those things. Getting in local churches, another fantastic way. Churches, temples, all of those things, any kind of organized Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, all of those. There's so many. I mean, you think about the world and how many things there are. Like, I think we had to kind of pull it at 10 just because it's like, okay, we don't want to overwhelm. And I know we did a project for another really national brand, and I did kind of two different playbooks, one for more the managers that were like just getting by. And then you have like your hero managers that are like, give me more, give me more, give me more. And so we did the basic playbook for this. This was a big national, huge brand. And then the second one, we did it as like, I named it after some of their food items. And so it was like I'm just gonna say, like, it was, like, basic, mild, and hot in a sense, and you could follow the trail through the book, like, it had icons to follow, like, even if you were on that extra one, if you just wanted to kinda touch your feet in, it would show you step by step how to go contact the coaches and what to do and how to do your CRM and on and on. And then if you had more time, it went to the middle, the mild one. And then if you were like Inferno and you were on fire and you wanted to just be the boss of it and you wanted to, top producer, it gave you things to do on that as well. So another huge questions. There's so much that businesses can do. And I think that's another oversight. Like when people are like, I don't need marketing, they don't see that as marketing. Marketing is connection. It's connecting with people. It's helping people to understand what it is you do and why they should come and spend their money with you over somewhere else.
Yeah, and I think even, you have that story based on what the logo looks like. You have the story based on your tagline and how your logo is designed, but then you also can build that through each of your menu items too. You know, at our place
Hmm.
at
Oh,
our place, we had
absolutely.
a burger that was kinda we were in a city called Marcello, so we did came out, we called it the Monty, and pretty much we had a local, jam that was made
Yeah.
with local sumas, we had, local bacon, and you can, that's again, kinda going back to the marketing side is, yeah, I could those things are a little bit more expensive, and I could get that stuff from the food truck people, but A, it's gonna taste way better, but you have a story that you can use on social media. If you just
Right.
post a regular burger, everybody's got a regular burger, but when I can take one menu item and create 5, 6, 7 different posts of the different local things that we're using it, and then I can tag those other local businesses as well. It's tagging those local
Right.
businesses, and then they're sharing that out because they're excited that, they might not be generating a lot of revenue, but they're excited just that somebody local is recognizing their product and using our creativity with our chef and incorporating that into their menu items. So, again, we kind of go back to,
Yep.
marketing's expensive. It's not. You just have to find these little things of how you can get those things out
Right.
and get the local people in and get the, just have fun with it. And that's, having fun and
Mhm.
creating that stuff. And again, it doesn't have to be that expensive.
No, it doesn't. It
What do
doesn't.
you see
Yeah.
with a lot of your concepts? How do you and maybe you don't do this, but do you recommend, like, certain menu sizes, or how do you kinda guide them through, like, what they should be serving and I guess it kinda goes the brand too. A lot of these places, they put a name on the door and it's like, it's a pizza place, but they're serving, pancakes, they go off brand because they think they're gonna
Yeah.
make
Yep. It's yeah. That's common. And we menu engineer definitely and try to guide them to have again, it's a story. Your menu is a story too. And you're gonna be guiding your guests' eyes to one spot. And so sometimes you just see these crazy menus with everything. And so it's like looking at it and then, okay, how do we organize it? Because they don't want to scale their menu down. So how do we organize that and create sections? So like I had a barbecue concept that was creating a Mexican line. And so he's mixing everything in. So it's like, no, no, no. Okay, let's give a name to the Mexican line. Let's put it down here at the bottom. So this is your blah, blah, blah portion. So if people want that, or if it's like, say he had one salad that was from the Mexican version versus the barbecue, then up at the top, you put that little logo that you created for it. This is a blah, blah, blah item kind of thing, the tag down. But then he does a lot of catering. So, kinda putting his menu out in the barbecue area, and then here's your, I'll just say, Mexique section for it. I think as popular as Cheesecake Factory is, I don't think I've ever met a person that doesn't, like, with their menu go, "Ooh." It's like, you don't wanna give somebody, I mean, their menu's expensive and it works for them, it's great, but still, it's kinda known as like, "Oh gosh, yeah, here's the book," or like, "Let me get to Cheesecake Factory 10 minutes early if it's my first time there so I can read the book before and talk to my friends." So you don't wanna duplicate that. You wanna make it easy for people to decide, you wanna help guide them. And then, the same thing, you want the things that are gonna make you the most profit that you're most proud about, you want that in a high visual spot that's gonna attract some attention, and maybe there's a box around it or there's something. Uh,
well, and, like, you bring
I
up
know people
Cheesecake
put
Factory. I
favorites,
mean,
but there's
they have
other
a
ways to
humongous kitchen, and they have staff at each of those things. most restaurants are not, they're a quarter of the size of a
Yes.
Cheesecake Factory.
Yes.
So when they try to make everybody happy adding all these new items
Right. Right.
and they can't execute the menu. So then they're wondering why they're getting mad at their staff cooking, why they're taking, 10, 20 minutes longer than items should.
Right. Well, and the other reality is how much waste are you having? Because you can't go through all of that if you're not the Cheesecake Factory. Typically, your menu is larger. So we had another concept that did have a lot of food waste. And then we look at it and we're like, okay, you sold 5 of these all week long. Is this really worth having on your menu? But then they're afraid because, Frank comes in every Tuesday and he's going to be so upset. Well, he will be, and so you have to, learn how to deal with that. I remember back in the early days, we had at this one concept that I was with, they had a roast beef sandwich on it. It didn't really fit their menu. Their sandwiches, it was a sandwich place, but the sandwiches were all a lot more creative and not like a deli in a sense. So much more creative. They had an oven where they're baking their panini bread and cutting and making these specialty sandwiches. So we weren't selling hardly any of the roast beefs, but it'd been on the menu since they had started, when they started with more basic sandwiches. When we took it off, and you would have thought the world ended. But guess what? It was one guy that was writing everywhere he could and writing in as if we ruined his life, which, you're sorry, and you try to direct them to other items on the menu that might be comparable. But at the end of the day, he was an older man that you were not going to make him happy. He wanted his roast beef sandwich. That's all he wanted. And we ruined his day because now he had to go look for a new one. So that's going to happen, but you have to understand that you're not in the business for just one. You're in the business for,
And many
the
of those menu
the
items, I'm
majority
amazed
of
that when I go and I see,
so
we do some consulting as well. When I see some menus and they have multiple menu items that they only have one ingredient, and that ingredient is the only menu item they're using it for. It's like you should be take 15
yes.
ingredients and use those ingredients. Don't
Yes.
have the exact same menu items, but you can take an ingredient and do so much with the ingredient. I mean,
Right.
and not have to add all these extra products. Like you said, he probably didn't have anything else on his menu that had roast beef. So he's literally buying, roast beef and only for 5 sandwiches a week. And like you said, it just goes
Right.
back to the waste.
Yeah. Yeah. I learned early on in my career. I worked for a very wise man who is very successful now, but at the time, I always wanted at the sandwich place a half a sandwich and a salad because the full sandwiches were too big and I could never eat that. And his answer was always like, "Well, bring a friend and share." I'm like, "Okay, but then if I'm going by myself, I wouldn't want to go to you." So can't and we get so many requests for a half a sandwich and the side salad that would come with the other. And his answer was, when they do prepping, they're prepping and they're weighing the meats in the morning because it's a scratch kitchen. So everything's done, wrapped in foil. And so when it comes time, they pull them out. And for them to take all of their meats and do all in half sections for the half sandwich is operationally inefficient. And at the time when I started with them, there was 4 locations. So it was like, oh, come on. But now they're up to 40 locations. So he had the big picture to think on how to scale it and what works and what doesn't. I still wish there was a half sandwich, half salad, but you know, but it's the wisdom to know you have to know who you are and what you can do, and you can't be everything to everybody, I think is the bottom line to that.
Do you run into a lot of places that are scared to increase their menu prices?
Well, before COVID, yes. And now I feel like people just there used to be a whole strategy. I did a lot of menu engineering with that, and I would do a whole like Excel spreadsheet. I'd put the percentage that if they wanted to take a 2% increase, and I would go through with the marketing eye and look at, okay, where's Joe not going to notice that we're increasing the menu? So it didn't just look like, oh, this menu price. And where is like, okay, so if we sell 1,000 sodas a day, if I increase that by 5 cents, that's going to give me a huge impact. And will Joe really notice 5 cents on his soda going up? Probably not. So that helps me get to my percentage. So, anyways, back in the day, I used to do the menu engineering to kind of do it in that way. Like, look at your dogs, look at your heroes, and where am I getting the most impact and where are people not seeing it? Nowadays, no one asks you anymore. It's just like, hey, here's our new menus. Oh, that went up $1. Oh, an entire dollar on your, $8 item back in the day, which is now $12. It just kept going. And like one client I had, He does a lot of catering, a lot of holiday catering, and every year the packages go up $10 at least. And it's just, oh, let's do this. Oh, let's do this. And then he'll email you, oh, like change this one, change this one. So there's not a lot, and that's across the board with all clients. I feel like they just kind of say, okay, yeah, oh yeah, change that to that, or it's just crazy. Like even on new menus, they're just kind of like, I've worked with chefs, yeah, charge that for that. Whereas back in the day, if it was, say, pizzas, I would do a whole comparison, a competitive analysis to find out what are all the pizza places in the area charging nationally. What do people charge? Okay, let's look what could you get that's reasonable for your pizza? Okay, now let's use that as the base mark. And then looking at your food costing and what's your percentage. So you'd want to, what kind of food costing you want on that. So there was a lot, and now I feel like with COVID and prices going up and, minimum wage going up, people are just throwing prices against a wall. Oh, will people pay it? Oh, they did. And people aren't complaining as much either, because people used to complain, but now we would just walk around complaining everywhere because you go to the grocery store, it's high, somebody's turning around. I went to where was it? It was a store, and I was buying something and they turned it around for a tip. I'm like, I'm buying a shirt and a pair of pants and you want a tip. You didn't do anything. You're ringing me up. But I mean, I think the people are just we're just getting gouged everywhere on it. So
Let's
it's a
shift
different
to
world.
a little bit of social media. So what do you, really in any direction, what do you see that, hurts brands and, you know, on some of your stuff, what do you train or recommend?
So this is what I do, because I think social media is such an art, and that art is changing with the algorithms sometimes every 6 weeks. And if you don't have somebody on top of that and watching that, then you're just throwing it at a wall because no one's going to see it. You're going to 5, 10 people see it. So what I have a couple, 3 different teams that I work with, that I contract, and I will tell my clients, I don't want to do it anymore because I don't have the time to watch all the algorithms and all of those things. And it is a very, like if you're looking at Instagram, you're looking at YouTube Shorts, you're looking at those things, it's very much geared mostly to the Gen Zers. And so you need somebody that's young and that's on top of that and that knows that. And I say that, but I have other ones, they're not really that young, but they still, they've dedicated their craft to knowing that. And I think you need a specialist to do it right. If you're doing your social media and you have 2,000 followers and you're gaining like 5 a week or 5 a month, what's happening? Nothing. No one's seeing it. But if you use a company that actually knows what they're doing, they will change it. And then the other thing that's happening, honestly, is a lot of people, they're like, well, why do they have so many? Well, guess what? You can go and buy followers. It's not hard. There's a million places you could go buy followers, but look at their engagement. What is the engagement rate? Who's engaging with them? I think it's very important to your Instagram grid should be looked at as an art piece. So you want to, if somebody just opens up your account, you want that to look like a piece of art. So very aesthetically pleasing. But then you want to make sure you're doing reels. You want to make sure you're doing stories. You want to make sure you're pinning, if you've got an influencer that's done a lot and you have a lot of followings on those, you're pinning your top 3 favorites at the top. And those can change as well too. But there's a complete art to it. A lot of them, I don't even see the highlights. So you should have your highlights at the bottom, and those should all be designed in a way. So when somebody comes to your account, again, it's that consistency that you have your
Yeah.
brand looking a
Now,
certain
how do
way.
you recommend, a company finding a good company to do that? I think some of the things that I see are, kind of like AI. AI is a great tool, like you said. If you don't want it to create your logo, but you want to
Yeah, but
get
you
some
can see
ideas,
it.
just hiring a company,
Right.
you're still going to have idea. Look, it's your story, it's your brand, it's your product. You're still going to have to have some inspiration and be able to
Mm-hmm.
give some of those ideas and information to somebody because they're not going to be as passionate.
Yep. Yep. And again, that goes back to what I said at the beginning. AI is fantastic. And oftentimes, like, I'll work, well, we had one social media company with here, and I was like, I have to approve the post. And I'm rewriting every post because I'm like, this is totally AI. This is totally AI. I'm not paying you to do AI. I know how to do AI. But if I was to do sometimes I'll do this for a brand, like, I work with the social media. I'll do it and I'll put it in and say, "Okay, here are the things that I want to cover this month." And then I'll have AI write things up, but then I'll be like, no." And I will create my whole brand story within AI for projects, and then I use that, and I don't let AI just write it with AI. I use AI and I tailor each of my projects around all my brand story. I write my whole brand story in there, and then you teach the AI to talk like you want your brand to talk. And once you get it to that point, then you can. But I still what I do with the clients that I have, different companies use it. I will rewrite theirs, and I'll still make my brand story, bring it in there because the one thing I love about it, there's no more spelling mistakes. The punctuation's there. But you have to be careful because if you're just using AI, people that use it can spot it in a second. I certain people, I'm like, you figured out AI, huh? Thank you. I love your great idea, with all your emojis next to it and all the things. AI has a certain look, a certain sound, and that's a fear too because people are thinking, "Oh, I don't need anybody to do social media for me. I can have AI do it." Yeah, and guess what? Guess how far you're gonna get. I know Canva just did they did their release yesterday, their keynote, and they brought in the top influencer, and they asked him they were having him show, like, the video thing, and they asked him, "How did you get to have, like" I forgot how many hundreds of millions of followers, and he said, "Well" and to me, this was pretty simple, and this is a story for all restaurants, I think. He said, "Well, at first, I was making mine all about me, and I wasn't getting any traction." So let me say that again. He was making it all about him. So even as a restaurant, if you make your Instagram or your social media all about you and your restaurant and you're like, look at this dish, look at us. It's white and people don't care. That's not what's resonating. And that's what AI is going to do for you. But instead, he said, then I learned to start making it about people and giving them tutorials and giving them things to do. And then it just blew up overnight and it has not stopped. So the same goes for restaurants. If you can find that magic where you're teaching people, even if it's how to make a dish or how to do a certain thing, that's you have to find the magic that's right for you. And you're not going to find that magic in I promise you that. But AI can help you. But yeah. So my one funny story, and you can cut me off for going too long, but there was a Italian restaurant that I absolutely loved, and I don't like to work where I play. And so I have a hardcore thing about it. And I was just like, Jacopo, I love your restaurant. I love everything about it, but your Instagram is horrible. And he's like, well, what should I do? What should I do? Are you interested? I'm like, no, I'm not interested, but I'm interested in helping you and telling you. I said, all you're doing is putting up like, a Canva looking template of whatever you're doing. There's nothing. I'm not even seeing your food except like maybe one every 10. And if you go to, just for kicks and giggles, if anybody's listening, go to Nona's. I mean, there's so many Nonas. It's in Westlake though. He is hilarious and he has blown up over the last 5 years. And I seriously, with my husband, we look on Saturdays and just look to see, like, catch up on the week's worth of his. And I crack up. He's won YouTube awards. He's made it a following that people love to follow. Is it about his food? No, it's humor. It's funny. But you see the food in it and you see the restaurant in it. He's found a way to bring all of that in without saying, here is my dish
Right.
of
Yeah.
pasta. Look,
Well, and I bet that
So,
then that
yeah.
correlation, I bet if you look at his sales 5 years ago and you look at his sales today, the correlation of increasing profits and sales probably went along with that whole.
Yeah. And he's a ham and he loves it, and he told me, he goes, "I spend an hour and a half every day filming these." So it's not I mean, he's got a whole he's got his staff all teamed and, the staff come in and out, but there's a crew of probably 4 of them now if you keep looking through, and it's just funny. It's hilarious. You should look it up.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, it's probably good, not that this is a topic we're going down, but it's probably good for staff retention, I mean, it's not just a restaurant now.
Mhm.
You're creating something fun from the outside and involving other people, and
Yep.
it makes people wanna stay, and
And it makes the people feel like when he just did on his staff was like, "Hi, my name is blah, 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 and I'm a hostess here, and I do this and I do that, and I think I deserve a $2,000 bonus." And then he has another one. And then he comes on and he says, "Hi, my name is Jacobo, and I am looking for a head waitress and a blah, blah, blah." So it's like because they wanted these bonuses. But what it did was it brought you in to know who his head waitress was, or whoever the two people were. So it gives you a feeling of he unknowingly or knowingly introduces you and brings you into the fold of the family and the place, so it doesn't feel like just a place to go eat. It's a place with personality and fun, so you're getting an insight into the back side of things. And so to me, that's genius for any restaurant, but to have the time to do that is not always so easy. But finding your niche, finding something in social media that matches you, but it isn't about you, just, "Here's our dish, here's this, here's that," because that's all about you. So that's the key.
And it
Make it
doesn't have to
about
be that,
the
that's the
audience.
extreme, and are most people that are gonna do this end up getting a YouTube award or, doing all that? No, but you should at least be dedicating 15 or 20 minutes a day to
No.
be doing something different to try to fuel, with when it comes to and, again, it kinda goes back to I think we're in a, I don't know if you wanna call it a renaissance or what but we're in a period of time that is so easy to market. It's so easy to market in a negative way, but
Oh,
it's
yeah.
so easy and so cheap to market where before you had to have a bunch of people or you had to have, it just there's just so many tools and so many ways to get out to your customers, it just drives me crazy when people don't do it.
Well, but at the same time, I mean, you're a consultant, too. Like, if you're running a restaurant, that's a full-time job. So for marketing done right, with all the branding and sending out e-blasts and the social media and all of those things that are gonna help bring those customers through the door, you don't have time to do that. Like, no human can do everything. And that's what makes the world so beautiful, is that we all need each other. And I think that's true in a restaurant. You can't think that you can do it all, and as soon as you do think you can do it all, then you're not doing everything well at all. So, and that's that yeah, and that goes back to the very first brand that I worked with. I was doing it all. I was hired as marketing, but like I said, there was only 4 restaurants, and so I was then in charge of catering, and then I became in charge of the point of sale system, and then I became in charge of the chef, and then I started, and other people were like, "Oh, you should be in charge of operations." And then, he brings in, we're now up to 10 locations, and I'm doing and all the graphics and e-blasts and all the marketing on top of it all, and I'm just like, "Oh my gosh." And then he brings a consultant in who says, "You're at 10 locations now. She needs to choose one path because she can't do it all well." And it was so true. So, oh, and I was doing technology too. So, yeah, you start doing it all because you can and there's no one else to do it. I did the technology because the pagers weren't going off right, and I'm calling and fixing it and blah blah blah, and then the point of sale system gets put in, on and on and on. So, yes, somebody can do it all, but can they do it effectively? No. And if you want to scale, it's impossible. You have to
Yeah.
start using a team and letting each person
So this is
specialize
probably
in
off
those
topic a
things.
little bit, and I keep running through my mind because the key here, the ball's going back and forth. What kind of food does a pickleball place serve?
So okay. So in the center there, that TV, so that's Paddleheads Bar and Grill, and it separates eight courts. So there's 4 courts where I'm sitting on the quiet side, and then there's 4 more courts over on the other side of that. So these are our indoor courts. And then outside, we had a big Halloween party, so it's kind of taken apart out there. But there's 3 more courts in the center, and then we have a clubhouse where there's another 2 courts, private clubhouse with events and things. So the answer to your question is we serve it all. So we start at 6 a.m. With fresh baked muffins, fresh baked croissants, fresh baked paninis and breakfast sandwiches, breakfast burritos on the weekend. We have like a small brunch thing with like a acai bowl and avocado toast and a quinoa bowl. Um, and then it turns into at around 11 o'clock, we bring in like the park menu and our Paddleheads Bar and Grill menu. The park menu was intended to just be like out on the park, and we have like panini baskets where you can pick your panini, pick your sides, pizzas and smash burgers, Sonora dogs. those kinds of things that would be fun in the park because there's like a whole like kids games and dog park and everything out there in addition and stage in addition to pickleball. And then the Paddleheads Bar and Grill was supposed to be here, but we find people want to order from both, so we've kind of done it. But the Paddleheads Bar and Grill has all the way from the cauliflower bites to salmon, smoked salmon dip, and different kinds of like club sandwiches and you name it, flatbread pizzas. And then at nighttime, we add in the center court, which has like halibut and steak frites and
Awesome. Sounds
everything. So pretty
well.
much,
So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So I
The food's
really
amazing.
appreciate you jumping
So
on. So anything else you can think of, from a marketing standpoint, or any tips or tricks that you want to leave the listeners with?
well, I think I gave a lot of tips and tricks in the beginning, but I would say the overall one is it's not about you. It's about making people happy. It's about the experience that you can deliver to others and like keeping that at the forefront. How do you invite people into your place and make them feel special and give them an experience that they might not have had a great day? They might have just lost somebody they loved. They might have just found out they got cancer or whatever it is. And so typically when people are going out with others, or even if they're by themselves, they're looking for an escape in their day or their moment and to be that place and to keep your eyes focused on that. And so that's why I love hospitality. That's why I love marketing. I love to create those environments and creating those environments, like I said in the beginning, in the digital world so people can get a view of that, whether it be by a funny Instagram or a great looking website or all of the above, like keeping that on brand down to when they come to your place, park in the parking lot, feeling that full experience from beginning to end there too.
Well, thank you. I really do appreciate it. Do you want to put a plug in for your consulting business?
Sure, it's Eustress and Demeter, .com. And yeah,
All right. Well, thank you so much, Christy. I really do
you can
appreciate
find
your
us on
time.
the on
I know you're busy, and I really appreciate. I think everybody will get a lot out of this conversation.
Thank
So
you,
again,
Joe.
thank you so
Appreciate it. Thank you
much.
so much for having me on.